Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Y'all, I do not know what to do with this hair yet, so pardon me. I'm loving how it feels today, I really am, but I still don't know how I feel about having anything near my eyes, so don't mind me if I keep pulling it forward, pushing it back. I can't help it, okay? I can't help it. But anyway, welcome to another Taboo recommendation video. Yes, I haven't made one of those in a hot minute. It's been a while. But I was just inspired by which was the last one that I read, honestly? I can't remember. I don't know. I was wanting to make something. Oh, yes, I do remember. And it's going to be funny because the last step sibling book that I read is the tamest of tame, but it got me thinking that I have not made a step sibling rec video. I believe I've done some taboo age gap that had like step parent, and all of the books in this video I've definitely talked about before. And while I was doing my research to put together this video, I mean, most people have talked about every single one of these, though I do hope I can bring some to mind for you that maybe you didn't think of. But for sure, I'm going to touch on some that y'all have heard about, and, you know, I'll probably start with some of the most popular ones. But a few things I want to say about this one and just taboo in general. In my opinion, there are two ways, you know, you really go with this. There's the super taboo version, where you basically grew up with the sibling, right? And this is the same where it is with any of the step genre, the step taboo, right? Stepfather, sister, mother, any of those, right? The ones where they've been with you your whole life and they're basically like that relation to you, right? And that's super taboo, right? Because then they're almost like your family member, right? And I have no shade for that. I've indulged in some of that in my day too. If you check my taboo playlist, which is going to be linked here, and this video will be in the taboo playlist, so you are welcome to your heart's content to check that out, because I've definitely made those. Yeah, those ones, they can definitely unsettle some people for sure. But then there are what a lot of them are, and it's where they're, you know, the families are getting, you know, brought together much later in life, kind of like the Life with Derek scenario that a lot of us were into when we were younger, that we really tapped into, right? Where the families get together when the kids, when they're either kids or maybe even adults, or maybe even the younger pair are starting to fall in love before their parents ever even get together, right? So those are the different ranges of it. And in my opinion, a lot of those ones don't even really feel taboo at all, but for maybe keep it hidden because they don't want their parents to look at them weird, or they don't want their parents to feel like they have to back off of their love because they'll get in the way, or maybe they, you know, just resent the other person because they feel like they're taking their space. That's going to be what a lot of the dark ones are in here anyway. Or maybe in the case of a couple of these, the person is your bully, and your parents marrying their parent. Like, can get awkward really quick with some of these. So that's just what I want to say about this, is that yes, of course I have this on Taboo because that's what gets them clicks, baby. But there's really, truly only one of these, and that's where I'm going to start with, that in my opinion is the most taboo of these, because they are raised as siblings from the time they're very young. But they're also very aware that they're not siblings from that time. But yeah, in my opinion, it's the most taboo of all of these. Then there are the dark ones on here that are just dark romance because that's the genre that they're in. So there are more taboo elements in the story than it just them being step siblings. And then there's some that really it's just a forbidden element in the story. And then there's some that it's almost an afterthought. So I have a full range in here, and I'll discuss that as we go through. But anyway, yeah, my name's Jen. As I said, welcome. If this is your first video from me, if this has come across and you're like, whoa, who's this chick who's given those? You know, lately, again, we're in an area where taboo, or in a time where taboo recs are getting a bad name. Promise I'm not scary. I just refuse to have any shame about the books that I like to read. I don't think it makes me a bad person, and I'm not one of the psychos out there who's stalking people because of it or trying to make it weird. I just want to read my books and enjoy it and talk about my friends with it. So if that's you too, if that's what you're looking for, make sure you subscribe to this channel, like this video, share it with a friend so that you can get some recs that you both can read together if you want to. And also, if you're looking for more taboo recs or any other kind of recs, I have thousands of them, and I'm not kidding about that. Check out my playlist with more taboo recs, or again, really anything. I read dark romance, historical romance, sci-fi, fantasy, anything you're looking for, I got it. So thank you so much, and let's get into the recommendations, which, as I said, we'll start with the most taboo one to, you know, live up to this video's title, which again isn't clickbait, but also it's more taboo for probably the corn hub category than for what the actual content of some of these actually is. But we have, of course, one of the queen of taboo herself, which is QB Tyler. And her most recent release was actually Wilder Saint. And this one is the couple of Sebastian and Haley, I can't remember how it was said, but they're step siblings when their parents get married when they were 5 and 6 years old. But when, I think just like a year later, it's a year or two later, Hallie's father actually gets murdered, and she gets killed in front of, or he gets killed in front of the two of them. Like, I think he takes them to the store and there's like a robbery or something. And so they witness this, and it is quite traumatic. And so they do, you know, they already were close, but as young people, they bond over this. So Sebastian's mother, she, you know, keeps Haley, and now, like, they are raised like as siblings, but they never see each other as brother and sister, but yet they stay very close. And when they are, you know, young teens, they start maturing and they start doing the sex things. And when Sebastian's mother realizes this, as a good parent would, which that is really my, you know, only critique of this book. Like, I'm just going to be honest. This is a rec video. This isn't a glowing praise of every single one I'm recommending. I'm just telling you ones that have step siblings in them. Is I feel like they're a bit too hard on the mom in this, because what would you do if you found your children, because she does see Hallie as her daughter, what would you do if you found them making out in bed? I think you would do what you can to separate them, and you would be quite hard on them to try to make it happen. But anyway, but as the story is told, though, it doesn't start with that. It actually starts with them in the present time, and what's happening in the present time. Sorry, I don't need to go into full detail on all of these ones, but I'll just give you this other little flavor. We're actually in present time where Sebastian's mom is actually about to get remarried. It's been a long journey for her, and again, this is why, like, I do feel for her, but it's kind of weird because they're going to be like going to the wedding, and it's like, do they go to this wedding and admit that they've been in love all this time, where the mom kind of thinks they've moved on from their infatuation as young people? Or do they finally admit that they're tired of trying to fall in love with other people while really holding themselves back, and once a year on the anniversary of Hallie's father's death, they meet and basically fuck for a weekend and then try to forget about each other the rest of the year, which is just crazy because they can't ever do that. So yeah, it's a very emotional story, but also it's QB Tyler, so it's also an erotic romance as well. Like, they're doing a lot of sexy things, and it, you know. So taboo doesn't always have to equal erotic, but as you'll see in some of these, when you're reading taboo for the naughtiness of the sex, that is what's happening in a lot of them, okay? So that's what's happening in a lot of them. All right, now let's do the one that I'm sure everyone's expecting to see, and I'm sure I probably even put it on the cover graphic because everyone knows it's got to be here. This one is MM. This one is angsty and sexy and smutty, and the audiobook is one of the most popular ones out there, and it is For the Fans by Nyla K. Yes, this one is the OnlyFans one, and it is about Avi and Kieran, and their parents, their mother and father, end up getting married, but they were already like aware of one another, and they already were pretty like antagonistic towards one another. And Kieran, he is a football player, and he has always kind of thought badly about Avi. And then when I think they're like, I can't remember, they're in high school when their parents get married, and he's so excited to finally be able to get away from Avi because now he lives in Kieran's home. But then Avi ends up at the same college as him, and he just wants to stay away from him. He thinks he's such a punk. He thinks he's out to ruin his life. His father is so hard on him and thinks that Avi is like perfect, even though like Kieran is working so hard and is so good in sports, and like, why is Avi so perfect? And like, he's not. Anyway, there's all these things. But then their freshman year of college, or is it sophomore year? I don't know. The father like has an issue at work, and they lose all their money. And now like they're not going to be able to keep living on campus if they don't make some money. And so I won't go into all the details because again, this book is super popular. People already know this, but Avi starts an OnlyFans through like, he starts one because like his friend already has one, and he starts one, and his friend says, if we do collabs, we can make more money. And then he is like, they invite Kieran in to do like a threesome, but every time that like they touch in this, it just explodes everything. And so eventually Avi and him start one basically with just them, and like they hide their faces on it and they don't say their names, but you know, things escalate, and everything that they're doing on camera just starts escalating to them wanting to do it off of camera, and what are the implications of when they're not doing it for the fans anymore. So this book, of course, does also have some pretty serious trauma and things that happened that I just want to put it out there because there are some things that are very difficult to like about Kieran. Some things that make you want to punch him in the face. But if you've read a lot of dark romance, if you've read a lot of things where characters have internalized homophobia that just feels very blatant, you maybe will read the signs. But if you haven't, maybe you have picked this up because you've seen this book almost go mainstream, right? And you'll just think like, oh my God, this is disgusting. Why he's saying these things or doing these things. Just let it breathe. Just think about it. This author isn't having this character think and do and say these things to Avi just out of hand. That would make him so horribly unlikable. There is a history. There is stuff going on. And once you find it out, in my opinion, it makes sense. And in my view, he does really make amends, and also needs amends made to him because he was a child when certain things happened. So yeah, that's For the Fans. That's a stepbrother one that a lot of people just devour, right? Okay, let's just briefly mention one that is also... So also I would say though, but even though there are those triggering elements in this one that I said, I wouldn't consider this one too dark. It is a like erotic romance, but it has a college element. There are even some funny elements. It's very sexy. It is, yeah, it's funny sometimes too. So I wouldn't consider this like a full-on like dark. It's more erotic and sexy, and then it has some triggering elements to it. However, the author, S. Massery, she's not known for pulling any punches. And so there is Devious Obsession, which this was the first book from S. Massery that I read. And I actually read this one for my Patreon way back in, when did I read this? Back in 2024 in February. So I read it quite a while. And this one, her books always have tons of kink, tons of dark elements in it. So definitely look up everything for that. I can't list everything, but pretty sure this one had like somnophilia, primal play. It has a bunch of things. But in this one, there's Steel and Aspen. And I believe this one starts with, sorry, I had to pull it up for this one because it's been a while. It starts with them having a one-night stand over the summer. And it's just like everything he's ever wanted it to be. He finds his girl who just completely sees to everything he wants. But then when he discovers that she is now his stepsister and she knows his secret about what he likes, he kind of, you know, flips his shit a little bit and now wants to use that to kind of like punish her and everything. And, you know, he's not rational. He doesn't think it through. Doesn't think like, oh my God, there's someone who knows me and accepted me and loves what it is. He's thinking, oh no, this person knows what I like. I must punish her for everything that I've got. Because that's how S. Mastery does it. But, I just really like how they both need what they do to each other so much. So even when S. Mastery takes things to such a dark place, she writes it in such an over-the-top way, though, and they both love what's happening so much. And they both need it so much that if you just know that while you're reading it, you do also have to really like things really dark. And if you don't read this one, even for the step sibling dynamic. Like, just don't, if you don't like the darkest of stuff. But if you do, the step sibling part of it is definitely there and is a nice little treat for you if that's something you want to read. Another one that I just really enjoyed, but I think just doesn't get enough attention. So yeah, what am I even saying about this one? Start fresh with this one, Jen. Start over. Another one I just want to mention real quickly. I feel like it gets brushed over a lot within this series because there are some that are just maybe a bit more eye-catching, as it were, pun intended. But there's Eyes on Me by Sarah Kate, which is a stepbrother romance. This one's got a pretty good age gap in it as well. But this one has the hero is a voyeur and the heroine is a cam girl. And yeah, he discovers her. She's trying to make some money using being a cam girl. And yeah, he discovers his stepsister on this website and becomes obsessed with it. And yeah, I think this one is just kind of difficult with each other. Garrett, I think people get a bit frustrated with him. But I mean, characters have to have a character arc to work through. But I really like Garrett and Mia. And I think they deserve more love than they get. And yeah, this one has a step-sibling relationship. So there's that to share with everybody. Then another one to share is Saving the Rain by Elliot Rose. Now, I will admit that this one wasn't my favorite in the series, but I would be remiss if I didn't put this into a step-sibling recommendation one. This one definitely is darker, and they are like competing. Is this one Bull or Bronc writing? I can't remember. But yeah, this one is Rain and Casey, and they are, yeah, they're stepbrothers, and they have a pretty complicated relationship. And this one is pretty angsty. It has some pretty heavy implications. For this one, there is some domestic abuse in here. And this is also another one too where, you know, people really call this one this was pushed as being so taboo, especially when you have it as MM and you have it as how little that really affects things because of how they were raised in here. I don't know. I just don't see it as being as taboo. But again, if you make them step siblings, it fits into the taboo category. That's the whole point of this video. But there are parts of this one that are so beautiful, especially once they really start to work through the trauma of the house that they grew up in and just how, like, they weren't able to communicate as young people, and they weren't, you know, they didn't have the resources to get out of it at the same time and offer each other what they needed. And, you know, that's just so hard. But when they finally come together, pun intended, in here, it's really beautiful. There's a lot that gets worked out through this relationship, and, you know, make them cowboys, make it angsty, and that's going to be really fun in here as well. So again, I was wishing at times for a bit more from this story, especially for how long this one was, but it also worked well for so many people that, of course, I have to put it in here. And just because it wasn't perfect for me doesn't mean it won't be perfect for you. Okay, a Mafia one I wanted to mention, not the only one, by the way. And one of the first books, I learned later on that this wasn't the very first one I read by this author, because I read another one from her that was in a series that had multiple authors. But the first one that I was cognizant of it being from her was Taken by a Sinner by Michelle Hurd. And this isn't another one of those that, you know, they become step siblings later on. In fact, much later on in their lives. And I remember this one just like, I thought it was so interesting. This one also involves the Greek mafia in Canada. And it goes like this. So Tess, her mom marries a retired godfather of the Greek mafia in Canada. And so her new stepbrother is kind of the Don now, right? And now that he has a unmarried stepsister, it's his duty to get her married off. And Tess is like, I did not grow up in the mafia. I don't need to marry anyone. And she also has some trauma in her past, so she really doesn't want to be pushed into marrying anyone. And she has some trauma in her past from like physical abuse. So the thought of being pushed into an arranged marriage with these alpha hole mafia guys just because you think everything needs to be tied up in a little bow is absolutely ridiculous to her. So this was my very first one from Michelle Hurd, and I didn't quite understand her like pacing and how she did stuff yet. So I often wonder how I'd feel about if I reread this one, because it's one of those, like, I mean, I'll just like kind of tell you because it's interesting to me, where it's like he keeps trying to find someone to set her up with because he's like, oh, she's such a problem, she's a thorn in my side, she needs to be like properly married off and then she won't be a problem anymore. But every time he keeps trying to find someone to pair her up with, he just can't imagine it working out. And even to the point where he has someone picked out for her, he's gonna walk her down the aisle and marry her off, and at the last minute he changes places with the guy. So I'll just say that. Because, of course, he can't marry her off to anyone else. He's the one who ends up marrying her. So that is Taken by a Sinner. And I just think Michelle Hurd does such a good job with stories like that. And I do wonder how I'd feel if I read it again. Now, having read, honestly, 20 books by Michelle Hurd, I do wonder if I would feel better about it, because I love so many books by her, and I just have this attitude of just like enjoying her stories more. And I mean, I still gave that one like 3.5 rounded up to a 4. And it was way back when I started the Mafia Romance readathon. Everyone was reading it and loving it. And one of my co-hosts, I think, actually sent the book to me because she was like, you have to start reading it. So I did. And I mean, I did have a good time. So, all right. Well, let's just do the other Mafia one that I have right here now too. I actually have to reread this book this month. I'll be rereading it shortly because I have to fully annotate it. I've only highlighted some of it. But the other step sibling one that I love, it actually was a 6-star read for me, is Sweet Prison by Neva Altaj. And this one is interesting because it does technically fit with he becomes her stepbrother when she's very young and he's much older. However, he's in prison for most of her life. And so he doesn't know her when she's a child, right? That's kind of the like line, you know, is did he know her as a little girl, right? Now in the Wilder Saint, they're both children. So that's also another thing. There's no, there's no room for like grooming in that. It's a trauma bond that still is taboo. I'm not saying it's not. That's why this is a taboo rec video. There's no rationalization needed for any of this. I'm not looking to do that. However, in this one, when he becomes her stepbrother, there's 2 girls and a boy in her family, and her older brother is more his age. So I should say that this is Massimo, and then there's Zahara and her sister Nina. I think Nina's her sister, or Nira. I can't remember. Let me see. Yeah, there's whatever. I can't find it. The point is, when he becomes her stepbrother, her and her sister are young. Her brother's closer to his age. He's actually very close with her brother. And so there's his mom marries her dad. And yeah, there was the 3 siblings. Now, in the beginning of this story, when he's 18, and again, her and her sister are little. I don't even know. I think they're like 7 and 8, whatever. I guess I probably could figure it out. They must have been really little if he's 18. And what's their age gap? She always says. Okay. It literally says at the beginning, Zara is 18 when they reconnect and he's 35. So the age gap is 17 years. So literally they're like babies. But again, they never like live in the same house because he gets arrested. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, he never grows up. They are step siblings in name only because their parents are married. So I think she's literally was a baby then when her mother died. And then the father married Massimo's mother. And there we go. But anyway, the whole point of it is her older brother gets killed, and Massimo like kills the man who killed his stepbrother because he loved him and it was awful. And he gets put in prison for this. And he's in prison Zahara's entire life. And at some point during the story though, and I won't spoil when, she actually starts writing letters to him. And at first he's like, I'm not going to answer these letters from my younger stepsister. This is annoying. Because she starts writing letters to him when she's like child still. I believe it's even for like a school assignment. She's supposed to write letters to someone, and so she starts writing letters to her stepbrother in prison, and he's like, this is ridiculous. But then, and just to give this little tease, she starts writing letters that say stuff in it that's different than what his stepfather, again Zahara's father, who is kind of running the organization in Massimo's stead while he's doing his prison sentence, one of the things she says is different than the news he's getting when he meets. And Massimo is like, hey, what's up? Am I not being told the proper information? I don't like this. And so he gets the bright idea to start using his little spy to sneak him the proper information so that he can be apprised of what's going on. So for the next few years, they have this pen pal relationship where he's using Zara for information. But then eventually he's going to get out of prison. And who he imagined as a little girl that he was writing letters to is actually the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. And the crazy man inside his head, because I'm not exaggerating, he literally has a alter ego inside his head. Let me try to find it. He has an alter ego inside his head who is depicted with this darker writing, almost like Mateo in Wolf Gone Wild, if you've ever read that, who is obsessed with Zara, and that beast is only quiet when he's around her. So, this is a step-sibling romance. It is probably my favorite. It's so good. And it doesn't feel like a step-sibling romance at all, though it is quite a big age gap, and though it does get quite freaky at the end once they're both fully consenting and of age. And Massimo is a fucked up dude. But I love them. I love them so much. And, oh gosh, I just made myself so excited to reread this. Oh, the thing is, Neva's book started to get quite long, and of all of her books that started to get long, this is the only one I've still really liked, and that's unfortunate. Well, okay, Darkest Sins is good as well, but that one's not as long. Like, her books have started to get really long, and I'm like, girl, you know how to condense things. Anyway, we still have 2 more books to talk about. Let me do them briefly. I'll mention the other dark romance, and then the book that inspired this video, which I said is much fluffier than anything. So the other one that is almost step siblings. Okay. For the most part, I've kept these all to actual step siblings. Okay. Because there's so many variations people do. There are ones where people will put adopted siblings. There are ones where people will do, you know, like step parents, or they'll do adopted cousins. I wanted them to be actual, like the parents got married or were married at some point in the story, and do that. This one, the parents are like, they're going to get married, and they move everyone in together. So they're living as step siblings already, but the parents like aren't married yet. And this is a case of the son is actually kind of pissed about it because he already had sights on the girl who's now going to be his stepsister. And he's kind of mad about this. And that's Contempt by Sam Mariano, which is a bully romance. But this is Landon and, wow, I just forgot her name. Parker. This is Landon and Parker. Landon has been picking on Parker for many years. And it's because he's obsessed. And he has long-term plans to have her, okay? He won't necessarily admit it to us or even himself fully, but he has plans to have Parker. And his dad becomes obsessed with Parker's mom, which it's really only Landon to blame, because the only reason Parker's mom has to get involved with Landon's dad is because Landon causes some serious problems. In actually, the book before this one is a short called, oh shoot, I don't remember it off the top of my head. Book 2 in the Coastal Elites is a novella, but it's almost a full-length book, actually. And it's about their parents. What is it? What is it? Oh, come on. Why isn't it written back here? Undertow. Undertow is about the parents. So you actually can read that one first if you want. And it has the incidents for which Landon fucks up, and it causes Parker's mom to get involved. And Landon's dad falls in love with Parker's mom. And the thing is, Parker decides she's going to try to swallow her feelings about Landon, hide her discomfort because she wants her mom to be happy. And Landon's dad is like, if you fuck this up for me, dude, I won't choose you. But that's kind of fucked up too, because the way that Landon's mom died many years ago is like very sad, and there's just a lot of hurt in his life. But anyway, this is a fucked up boy, and boy is he happy that the like target of his obsession has now been moved into his home. He's very happy about that. And boy is he ready to go full bore about boy's not taking it easy no more. So there's that. But anyway, that's enough. Contempt is great. So this one isn't an official step sibling one yet, but by the end of this book, the parents are married. But there is even a scene where he confronts his dad where he's like, I had her first. And the dad is like, dude, you were bullying her. She was never going to get with you. No, it's more serious than that. Okay. It's more serious than that. But I do love Sam Mariano, and I love that book. Okay. The book that inspired this, which is the lightest of all of these ones by far, and also the most tenuous of the step sibling one. Because the parents, we don't even really know that they're going to be step siblings till the very end. But when I had the epiphany that this couple was going to become step siblings, it gave me so much joy. And I was like, have I made a step sibling romance video? And then I realized I hadn't. And I was like, we have to make one. So I love when inspiration strikes at moments like that, and then I get to make a video like this. And I did have in my video rec form, I forgot to mention this, I did have someone request a step sibling video quite a while ago. It was an anonymous person. I don't know who asked for it, but at the time I didn't think I had enough recs for one. And I mean, obviously I did have enough recs for one. But the inspiration just didn't strike yet. And so that's how it goes. So the one that I just read was My Lady, My Lord by Catherine Ash. And this was one of the Rake Appreciation Society books for the spring session, which we did actually just have book club for this. So you can get my full thoughts and breakdown. If I remember to, I will link it up here. I might not. But I talked about this with Crystal. We have a quarterly historical romance book club. And I wish I had found more historical romances with step-siblings. I know there has to be some that exist. I couldn't find it, at least none that I had read. I should be clear. I know some exist. I thought I had read some. I didn't see any. So please recommend some down below if you see them. But in this one, this is actually a bit of a like Freaky Friday type of story. I don't want to spoil everything. But we have these two, Lady Corinna Mowbray and Lord Ian Chance. And they've been neighbors for years. They've been at each other's throats since as long as they can remember. And then there is a twist that happens at I can't remember what they're at. I think they're at like an exhibition or a gallery or something. And something happens to them. And I don't want to say everything, but something happens to them. And well, I mean, I guess I said it's like a Freaky Friday thing. But eventually in the story, actually it gets revealed that once they start getting along better, which again is part of the story and what's going to happen, they start getting along better. It leads their parents to finally feel comfortable enough to admit that they've been in love, but they've been hiding it because they were afraid of how their kids would react, which again, they're all fully grown adults and they have more than just these two kids. Like I think she has a brother and he has a brother and like two sisters, and their parents are in love. Her father, his mother, who are both, I think, like a widow and a widower. They've been in love and they've been hiding it because they didn't know how their kids would feel. And by kids, they mean these two. The rest of their children, they know wouldn't mind. But their two oldest, I think they're both the oldest. They didn't know how they would react. And so they'd been hiding their love because of them. And when they see their children getting along better, they admit that they're in love and they're actually going to get married. So again, they're not step siblings for the whole book, but like they are like by the end. So it adds another layer to them too, because then like in the last kind of like quarter of the book, it adds this layer to it where now their parents are like about to get married. And so they're like, wow, we're going to have to see each other all the time. We're brother and sister and stuff like that. So it's funny. So anywho, I hope you enjoyed this little taboo / maybe kind of not. No, it is a taboo romance rec video. And again, if you'd like some darker, more taboo, more fucked up, more oddly specific rec romance recommendations, I have those. I also have wholesome, fun, cozy kind. I have literally everything you can think of. Check out my romance playlists. I will have those linked, or you can go to my profile here and see them. But if you would so kindly hype this video, like this video, send it to a friend, or if not, leave a emoji down below, just some hearts, some love, leave a recommendation yourself. I know there are a ton that aren't on this, but those are some that I've read and mostly liked, right? So thanks so much for watching.